Have you ever watched someone no-hit a Dark Souls game? How they move with grace, each movement fully calculated. Well, what if someone did the complete opposite of that? Welcome, I'm Blue Thunder, and I'm sure you're all wondering, what exactly is an all-hit run? Well, here are the rules. No rolling, no blocking, no parrying, no using quickstep for the iframes or quickstep equivalents, no orange estus, but ashen is allowed. Why am I doing this to myself? Fun times, right? Lastly, some extra rules I made for myself. The first is no glitches and exploits. While I'm sure you could manage to beat bosses using AI freezes and fog wall clips, it goes against the spirit of the challenge today, so we won't be doing that. Another is no grinding for loot and levels. I just hate grinding and would rather chop off my leg than spend hours grinding for levels. And you're probably asking, why so many rules? Good question. Anyways, let's drop straight into the run. Originally, I thought Undex Gundyr was going to be difficult, so I had multiple strategies lined up just in case. However, apparently, Gundyr can't aim, even when I'm standing still, just attacking. And if the boss misses me, despite my minimal movements, it's their fault for not being able to aim. So, even if I beat Gundyr with minimal issues, it's not going to be that way for the rest of the bosses. I do the tree jump for the Estus shard and the silver serpent ring. Since I cannot use Estus flasks, I allot all of my Estus into the ashen version, and make sure to level up HP. Make sure to grab the gold pine resin for some extra damage against fort, and grab this titanite shard near the bonfire. Turns out, not being able to dodge makes getting through areas extra annoying though. Who would have guessed? The second titanite shard you need to grab is under these stairs here. Dear Isaac Newton, can you please undiscover gravity for me? Thanks. How did the pus of man clip through into this room? What are you doing here? How did you do that? After whatever that was, I confront Vort. Just walk forward and Vort kind of forgets how to aim. However, if he does hit you because you can't roll, you're stuck doing that long get up animation. His second phase charge will hit you and deal a ton of damage at that. Luckily, you have a ton of time to hit him afterwards. That doesn't stop me from dying though. I go and upgrade my axe to +1 for some extra damage and try again. Although, because of damage I took before entering the arena, my HP was already low and I ended up dying again. Third attempt goes a lot better. Most of his attacks miss, and the charge takes me down low. However, I was able to do enough damage during his breath attack to kill him, albeit a tad close for comfort. As is tradition, I kill Emma for the banner and level up. I make sure to grab Yol and try to do his quest line. He is really important to this run. And I then forget to ever talk to Yoel for the entirety of this run, even though I needed some stuff from Yuria. But hey, that surely won't cause problems later, right? I barely managed to win against Todrick. This has got to be the stupidest run I've ever done, and somehow it's working. Of course, that doesn't mean this run is easy by any means. It's just been more possible than I originally thought it was. I make sure to free Cornix for the Pyromancer's Flame, as well as buying some spells for it. However, as a warrior, you start with 6 attunement, which is not even enough for 1 spell slot. Considering we were 1 level short, I pay Sigurd a visit and fight a demon with him. I'm glad to see you safe again, Sigurd. You have no idea how much I've missed you. With 10 attunement, we can finally use spells. Testing out Fireball, it doesn't have great damage, but it's still useful to have as an option. I set the Mad Lady on fire, and she commits seppuku. Well, saves me a hard fight at least. I claim my reward, the Butcher's Knife. Now, the Butcher's Knife is a very unique weapon. It heals you for every hit based on the amount of HP you have and the attack you did. The weapon art also increases the amount you heal and increases your damage by 5%. For exactly the amount of HP you heal based on attack and HP values, look at this chart. Yeah, there's a lot of data here. But the point being, the more HP we have, the more healing we have using this weapon. Perfect for a tank build. After some more suicidal NPCs, we arrive at the swamp. Yay! Normally, you'd either roll your way through the swamp or use a quick step dagger for a pleasant experience. However, neither option is available to us, so we just have to run and pray nothing hits us. While this works for some of the areas, the final fire is hard to get to. I try a couple different strategies to get past, although I end up dying. So instead of confronting them head on, I try to sneak around while slowly dying of poison. I can't believe that worked. I try to see how hard Abyss Watchers will be, and yeah, we probably need some better stuff. I grabbed the Dream Chaser's ashes to get a +3 weapon. Of course, we need enough souls to buy the Titanite shards. So why not kill the Stray Demon for them? Okay, that was a fluke. Okay, that's it. Come over here and let me fireball you to death from safety. Oh yeah, you can reach me, can't you? Of course. New idea. Apply lightning resin and just brute force it. Surely this will work. Huh. Neat. I upgrade my weapon to +3. However, that won't be enough for Abyss Watchers though. We need one more item. Nanomachines! I mean Iron Flesh. As you can see, when Iron Flesh is used, our damage resistance goes through the roof, although we take more lightning damage in return. Pair this with the healing from the weapon, and we are set. Using this, we are able to make it much farther. However, it is still not enough, so I go on to try my luck against the Crystal Sage. Crystal Sage is no different than normal. Just run straight at the Sage, hit him, and if you can successfully predict where he teleports enough times, you won't have to worry about tanking his magic. Easy fight overall. Make sure to grab Lloyd's Shield Ring. I drop down and fight against a giant. Although I'm low, the healing from the Butcher's Knife barely keeps me alive, and I get a large Titanite shard as a reward. How dare you throw Sigurd down a well, Patches. You will pay for your transgressions. Alright, you have more poise than I do. I'll be back, but with something stronger than you, Patches. This time, you need to lure Patches onto the bridge and try to push him off to even the playing field. You know what? That works. That's perfectly fine. I upgrade to +4 as well as buying Lloyd's Shield Ring. At maximum health plus Iron Flesh, our resistances go up to around 60%. Perfect. The healing from the Butcher's Knife easily outpaces the damage the Deacons deal, so I get some free souls from that. I then head to the Curse Rotted. We need to kill him to transpose boss items. As for the boss itself, because of the point we are at, he doesn't do nearly enough damage to worry me. So after smacking him around a bit, I claim my reward and use the transposing kiln to get Vort's Ring for some extra healing on attack, and Havel's Ring so I can equip heavier armor. We do a lot better with this loadout, however our biggest issue is rebuffing. When all of our buffs are active, the Abyss Watcher barely hurts me. However, once Iron Flesh runs out, you start taking a lot of damage. And the only good opportunity to rebuff without punishing is during the phase transition, so we need something to increase the limit of Iron Flesh. However, there's a ring that perfectly provides what we need. The Lingering Dragon Crest ring will increase how long Iron Flesh and other spells remain active. With it, we go back against the Abyss Watchers. There's still the minor problem of getting decent enough RNG with the attacks, buffing as well, and not getting hit by the enemies outside the runback. But eventually, we are able to showcase the power of this build. I'm so glad that worked. On to the other areas, namely the catacombs. I died to Wolnir because of his fog vape, but so long as he doesn't use that attack, he's pretty straightforward. Attack the bracelets and tell him to tell Cassandra hi and watch him plummet into the abyss. I head down to Ash Lake and grab enough upgrade materials for +6. After upgrading to +6, I confront Dancer to see what I'm messing with. Wait, no! Let me down! Let me down! Ow. Okay, let's just go through Irithyll instead. Hey, thanks for watching thus far. It takes me a while to make these. As a small YouTuber, in fact, this is one of my longest videos yet. So if you like, subscribe, or even leave a comment, it helps me out a lot. What you do matters. In any case, right back to my suffering. I make my way through the Irithyll dungeon, break my ankles on a light drop, and eventually arrive at Yorm. Grab the Storm Ruler, and then die to Yorm. Now, you can be distanced from Yorm and fully charge your Storm Ruler before heading into the arena. Don't mind the health bar. You would think that due to Yorm's damage, this might be difficult, and while I do get hit, Yorm just has too many blind spots, so you have plenty of time to charge up Storm Ruler and kill him. May the sun shine on this old Lord of Cinder. Only 2 bosses left before I have to face the Dancer. Next is none other than Pontiff Sullivan. My first attempt actually goes pretty well, but it's clear that we need to get more stuff to defeat this foe. Step 1. Free Arena. To do this, learn how to get the right angle to drop down, because I'm too lazy to just buy the key. The next is to send her to Firelink to buy her miracles. Now, we just need to give her the book for the miracles that we want. So, we go to the cathedral and confront the mimic that drops the tome. After a quick battle, the last step is to actually get something you can cast miracles with. I chose the Saint Tree Bellvine, mainly because its weapon art gives extra HP regen. I buy Deep Protection, Replenishment, and Gnaw. However, to use Deep Protection, we need some more levels into Faith. My first idea was to kill the old Demon King for souls. However, killing him would require a lot of fire resistance that we don't have, so scrap that plan. While we kill stuff, let's talk about Gentle Prayer. It's basically free healing, but you have to have the chime equipped for it to last. If you switch out, the buff disappears, so we need to keep it open. And the chime effect will also disappear if you two-hand your weapon, even if the chime is equipped in the offhand, which certainly makes it a really annoying chime to use, considering we need to two-hand to use our Butcher's Knife weapon art. And finally, we got enough levels to use Deep Protection. However, Iron Flesh and Deep Protection apparently does not stack. Because of course they can't. Why can't you make things easy for once, Dark Souls? And you're probably thinking that you could have saved yourself this trouble if you just looked it up. Yeah, I did. I looked it up. I used a Fexture Life wiki, and it said nothing about it being overwritten by each other. Guess that's what I deserve for trusting Fexture Life. Sadly, there's nothing I can really do to meaningfully increase my tankiness besides grinding for levels, and we can't do that. However, I can at least upgrade my damage. I trade the Black Firebomb for a Titanite chunk and upgrade my weapon to +7. So, I try again, and again, but it's not enough. After hours of attempts, I only came close to winning once, only for him to jump and steal victory from my grasp. However, I've reached my limit. The biggest thing I could do is get a ton of levels to increase my health, resistances, and damage. However, to do this, you would either have to grind or use a soul duplication glitch. Neither are allowed in my rule set. So, is this it? Is this truly the limit of how far you can go with this rule set? There is one method I haven't tried, but it's not exactly a popular solution. By summoning a friend who is under strict orders not to deal any damage whatsoever to enemies or bosses, you can have them cast 3 different miracles to help you stay alive. The first is Bountiful Sunlight, giving you a flat 10 HP per second regen. The second is Sacred Oath. This increases your damage and damage resistance. The last is Soothing Sunlight. This will be the greatest help for keeping you alive throughout the fight. While co-op does increase the boss's health, it does not increase the boss's damage, so it turns into a battle of attrition. Lastly, co-op does not ensure victory. Death still comes easily. However, this method does come with a severe drawback. You upset some Dark Souls purists, because co-op isn't the intended way to play the game. However, Solaire would disagree. After all, we all need some jolly cooperation in our lives. But I'd be a fool not to address this somehow, so how about this? If you stay calm, I'll do a true no-talk run of Dark Souls 3. Yes, no Andre, no Firekeeper, no Shrine Handmaiden, etc. But only if you chill, and tell me if you'd like to see that run in the comments. Okay, Pontiff is dead, thank goodness. Honestly though, I still don't like using co-op as a solution during challenge runs, and I try to avoid it when necessary. So keep in mind I will try to do as many bosses as I can without needing to summon Solaire. I go and get a better chime. This one has a weapon art that stays in effect even when put away, so we don't need this annoying twig anymore. However, it has a hefty faith requirement. So much for that plan. Aldrich is going to be annoying, isn't it? In fact, Aldrich does so much damage, even Solaire's healing can't keep up. Luckily, there is one miracle that makes this fight possible. Vow of Silence. Here's the thing. Aldrich should be possible even without the use of multiplayer. However, remember when I forgot about doing Yoel's questline? Yeah, without that, Yuria will never show up, meaning you cannot buy Vow of Silence from her, something that would allow you to do this fight single player. And considering I don't want to redo the literal hours of work leading up to here, we're just going to count this one as my skill issue. However, Solaire here remembered to bring it for me. The Dancer does a lot of fire damage, so I grabbed Flash Sweat. However, Flash Sweat and Iron Flesh does not stack. So instead, I head to grab the Flame Stoneplate Ring for some extra fire damage resistance. To solve my damage problem, I head to Irithyll to grab Dorfus's Gnaw. It does an insane amount of bleed damage. However, to use it, I have to respec at Rosaria. Considering the Dancer is weak to bleed damage, and if you couple it with the ability to cast at range, you can deal an insane amount of damage to the Dancer without her reaching you. However, once she has reached you, you're dead. That's it. Even with Gnaw, the Dancer is simply too tough. However, there is something I haven't used yet. Grab this Divine Tome. After heading to Arena, you can grab Tears of Denial. And because this spell stays active permanently, even when you rest at a bonfire, you can simply unequip your other spells, re-equip Todd to save slots, and then cast it. I said cast it. We don't have enough FP. Be right back. I head to Irithyll Dungeon to grab the Dusk Crown Ring. Make sure to forget where the ring is, so it's the last place you check. And then make a quick stop to get the Sage Ring for some faster casting speeds. After a couple attempts at Dancer, I managed to figure out that Iron Flesh cancels out Tear of Denial. Something that Vextra Life, again, didn't tell me it would do. Why did they make stacking buffs so difficult in this game? So I try and try again, but nothing comes of it. I don't have nearly enough tankiness or damage to defeat the dancer. I had nearly given up, but then I realized that all I needed to win was some perseverance. So that's exactly what I went to grab. In the sewer, you can grab the estus, which has a weapon art called Perseverance, increasing your poise and damage reduction for a limited time. And with Lloyd's, Iron Flesh, and active Perseverance, you can reach some insane damage reduction stats. However, that also did not work. It was helpful, but it did give me insight on something that might work. Okay, new plan, Smo's Great Hammer. Smo's Great Hammer has a couple useful effects. The first is its upgrading with Twinkling Titanite. It makes it really easy to upgrade. The hammer also heals you for a small amount on each hit, although emphasis on the small part. It's much worse healing than the butcher's knife. Luckily, the hammer also has the Perseverance skill. The last benefit is that it's a great hammer, and does some massive damage while overall being fun to use. After upgrading the hammer to +3 and respecking so I can use it, I try to dancer again and get quite a few close attempts. Okay, close, but we are not done yet. For our next step, let's head to the Painted World. We don't actually need to kill things here, we are just here to grab some Twinkling Titanite. So after teaching Wilhelm a well-deserved lesson, I just need to get to the chapel for the Twinkling Titanite I need. However, not being able to roll in the DLC makes it challenging to say the least. Trying to get from place to place. After you manage to get past, make sure to kill all of the remaining Twinkling Titanite lizards in the DLC. Whatever ones you missed, go to the areas around the base game. One of the lizards I missed was after the sage, and for some reason I just could not hit this crystal lizard. But eventually we collect all the twinkling we need for +4. Oh, did you think I was done? It's time to collect the slab. Come here, Freed. Yeah, okay, that checks out. Luckily, there is an easier way to get a slab. Simply kill this tree over here and climb this ridiculously long ladder that appears that gives you enough time to make you question the meaning of life and nature of existence. Then you have to climb a second ladder. Fun. But after you get the slab at the top and have a degree in philosophy, you now have a max weapon before Dancer. With this strategy, just buff up and hope you deal enough damage so the Dancer dies before you do. For this to work though, two things need to occur. One, you need to have decent enough RNG that Dancer doesn't go for the grab attack. Two, you need to make sure to pop your Ember during the phase transition, giving you enough health to take the second phase. Now all that's left is to do it. Now for Lothric Castle, and the Dragon Slayer armor. There's nothing useful to really grab around here, so it's straight to the boss for me. The biggest problem with the Dragon Slayer is that he does split damage between physical and lightning. Because Iron Flesh reduces our lightning resistance, the Dragon Slayer will hit hard, no matter if we choose to use Iron Flesh or not. So the best chance is to get a ring that increases lightning resistance. Sadly, that's in the Archdragon Peak, meaning we need to kill Osiris to unlock it. While the damage we deal to Osiris is great, there is one really annoying problem with his boss fight: the mist. If Osiris decides at any moment during phase 1 of the fight to cast it, you will die at a rapid rate. Even if you manage to get to the second phase, Osiris is a highly mobile enemy and has a ton of diving attacks. Pair this with the fact he applies curse buildup, and Osiris might very well be impossible within this rule set. But maybe it's a skill issue. Perhaps I really don't need anything to kill the armor besides my own perseverance. So I try, and try again, testing proper times to use perseverance versus when to focus on damage, trying to get a good gauge for the Dragon Slayer's poise values, that way I can correctly time poise breaks for that nice period of respite. The biggest issue was trying to predict when and how likely the Dragon Slayer was to hide behind his shield like a coward. While we cannot damage him during this, it at least gives me some time to regenerate stamina, if the odds fall in my favor. And that's in fact what I needed. I wanted to give up on this boss a couple times, but I had a feeling that it was possible. So I pressed onwards, and eventually... I finally claimed victory. It's finally time for the archives. Only 2 bosses away from my victory. Following the pattern of gravity killing, I managed to break my ankles again. Now heading up to Lothric and Lorien, the first problem is the split damage types. Mainly protecting against both physical and magical damage. Although, you will also have to deal with fire damage on occasion. The magic is going to be the biggest pain to deal with though. So, I had to grab the magic resistance ring from this guy in the Consumed King's Garden. Of course, the ring doesn't magically make things better. The best solution is to see what levels we can gain from bosses we have missed. I head back to Freed. The results were about just as I expected. Okay, how about a boss we actually have a chance at beating? The Old Demon King. The first attempt goes pretty well. The main benefit is that we deal a ton of damage, and the boss health bar can't keep up. However, I do end up perishing. And on my second attempt, the Demon King decided he wanted to roleplay as a tree? Okay, what is even going on with this run now? I do eventually claim my victory against the Old Demon King, and I head back to Lothric to kill a Mimic for the Sunlight Straightsword. This weapon will allow us to cast Sacred Oath as a weapon art. Really nice considering it increases damage and damage reduction by 10%. However, since the respec, I don't have enough faith to use it. However, there is a ring that increases faith by 5, but it's locked behind Champion Gundyr, which is locked behind Osiris. So I try against Osiris again, but no luck. So the only choice is to go back to Twin Princes. However, the Twin Princes are seemingly impossible to do solo. The only way to win here is to resummon our friend Solaire. But that doesn't mean the Twin Princes magically become easy. The opposite is true in fact. The Twin Princes hit really hard. The main issue is the second phase. A lot of his attacks does a ton of damage. So you need to time your endurance and support healing to stay alive. The phase transition attack is the worst. Even with our insane damage resistance, you just take so much damage, you can't even face tank it all unless you can time the healing perfectly. Another issue is just trying to get a decent angle to hit Lothric. Because we can't roll and need to face tank, the best opportunities we have to actually hit Lothric are when Lorien attacks, exposing his back, or the period when Lothric is trying to revive Lorien. While this is difficult, it's not impossible, and after enough persistence, you can actually manage to defeat the Twin Princes. And now, we get ready to confront the Soul of Cinder. And to all of those who have stuck around thus far, thanks. This last part is for you. I fight the Soul of Cinder to get a feel for what I'm up against. However, when I fight him, I don't get a feeling of impossibility. It feels like this is possible. Like I can defeat him. So, I try again a couple more times. I can do this. But first, let's increase our strength. Now that we are at the Soul of Cinder, we have access to the Dreg Heap. So, we are able to get some pretty good stuff. Namely, we are able to grab 2 different rings. The first is the Ring of Steel Protection plus 3. This drastically increases our physical defense across the board. The next ring is quite far down. To get it, you have to go up this branch. The problem being, this angel will kill you again and again. And well, you get the point. To even get the ring, you need to come up with a strategy to avoid the angel. My first idea was going down to a medium equip load to increase my speed. I was able to get farther that way, but it still proved difficult. After a couple attempts, I settled for baiting the angel to do the long curse attack, giving me enough time to run up and grab the Ring of Favor and Protection. Now that we have the rings we need, the only thing left is to actually fight and win against the Soul of Cinder. Let's talk about our plan. First off, we have 2 forms of healing available to us. The first is the Ember, the second is the Divine Blessing. Although, we only have 2 of them, so make sure to use them only when you are sure you have a chance of winning. The next is our damage. The biggest reason why I think this fight is possible is simply because of how often the Smo's Great Hammer staggers him. However, you still require a decent amount of RNG to even make this fight possible. Ideally, you need him to switch to the Mage moveset, that way you can keep the most amount of your health for the second phase. You will end up having to tank his phase transition, but so long as you stay aggressive, you should be able to all hit the Soul of Cinder. We did it! We finally did it. But stick around. There's still one thing left to do. We need to return Sigurd's armor to thank him for his service. And lastly, I want to say my thoughts on this run. Personally, this rule set was brutal. But looking back, I think both Pontiff and Aldrich would be possible without co-op if I managed to plan things better. As for Twin Princes, I think he is the only boss that is truly impossible using this rule set. And if anyone can prove me wrong, I'd love to see it. And if you liked this video, watching another helps me out a lot. With that, stay safe friends, and don't you dare go hollow.